everyone, welcome to the Maria Show. Today I am going to be reviewing The Keeper of the Lost Cities. As always, I will be starting with like a brief overdraft of everything that happened in the book. If you want to just skip to my thoughts, it will a timestamp for it will be in the description, also in the comments. So this book is about a young 12-year-old girl named Sophie who is a telepath. She's been hearing reading people's minds since she was about 5 when she had an accident. Ever since this accident, she's had to hear everyone's thoughts, no off switch, no way to control it. It gives her really bad headaches. Sometimes it's hurtful to hear what people actually think of her. So it's just like really hard, and she doesn't know why she has this ability. She's really, really intelligent. She is 12, but she's in high school, and she's like straight A's, very good academically. So she's always felt weird and out of place in this world and doesn't feel like there's any place for her to belong. But then one day she meets this boy named Fitz, and this completely shakes her world. Fitz tells her that she is a long lost elf from a whole elven world, and that he is a telepath as well. So Sophie has to leave her entire life behind, her whole family, has to erase her existence, and go be with her elven people, and basically come to terms that everything that she's ever known about herself, her family, the world, how science works is completely wrong. So even though now she's with her people, she still feels completely out of place. She then comes to live with a couple who sadly lost their daughter in a fire. I don't know how long ago it was, but I think it was a few years. And she starts school and training as a telepath. But as the book goes on, we more or so learn that Sophie is very abnormal in a lot of different ways. So all elves have blue eyes, but she has brown eyes, and nobody knows why. No one can read her mind, but she could read the most ancient mind ever. She got her telepathy when she was 5, but it usually comes when an elf is like 13. So just very weird things that no one knows the answers to. And it's just like, why was she hidden? Why was she placed with humans? Just everything about her rings a lot of questions. Many chapters later, a whole school year, half a school year basically, studying, making friends, mystery and stuff, we come to learn about this organization called the Black Swan, and the Black Swan is basically created her. She doesn't have any biological parents technically. The Black Swan created her for whatever purpose, like altered an embryo's DNA, I don't know how you would do that, and made her like super advanced and put a bunch of knowledge, forbidden knowledge, in her brain, and false memories. Or memories that aren't hers, I mean. Fast forward some more, she gets kidnapped. Her and her friend Dex get kidnapped, who they think they've been kidnapped by the Black Swan, but they come to find out pretty quickly that it's a completely different group. They like torture her and try to get information out of her head, because they know that she's the Black Swan's creation. She has all this knowledge. She's actually rescued, her and Dex, by a member of the Black Swan who turns out to be her neighbor who lived across the street from her whole life. Rocker, can you chill? So yeah, she's rescued. She passes all of her classes, so she's able to attend another year of elf school. And she is adopted by Grady and Adeline? Grady and Adeline. I know that her name is Adeline. I think his name is Grady. I'm not sure, though. So sorry if I mispronounced that. So now to get to my thoughts on the book. So first off, this book is amazing. I loved reading every second of it. I love the way that the author writes. She's a really good writer. Her writing is very, like, clear and understandable. When I read a lot of books, it seems like very, like, bogged down by, like, elaborate descriptions and world building and stuff, but I never felt like that with this book. I didn't, like, struggle to read it or, like, understand what exactly was happening. I like the way that she like writes the chapters. Like, she never fully finishes a scene or whatever you call it, and so it makes you want to keep reading and find out what happens. The plot was amazing. She made the Black Swan very much a threat, and that was written very good. Just seeing how well they manipulate Sophie, and have been manipulating her entire life. And just the mystery and the questions that I have. I mean, not many questions were answered other than, like, how, like, that Sophie is a creation of Black Swan and her DNA is, like, altered and stuff. Like, that's the only answer that we really got. But there's so much, like, when did the Black Swans start? Like, what is their goal? Like, is there more like Sophie? Is, like, what exactly is their, like, what is their end goal, you know? Or like, who is this other group? Like, what are they after? Obviously, they're after, the information in Sophie's head, but, like, you know, like, what's their goal? World building was very interesting. A lot of... Rocker, it's literally the wind. It's the wind. No! No! We'll go down and figure it out. But anyway, the world building in this is really good. And like I said, it's not like pages and pages of, like, elaborate world building and stuff. World building is done through dialogue. It's done through, like, social, like, just like social interactions, or like just like different situations. The elves think that their society is so perfect and good and better than the humans. And in a lot of ways you can argue, yes, it is. Like, there's no homeless people. There's generally not that much crime. Like, at all. There are still flaws. The social classes aren't ranked by wealth, like, you know, like, there's billionaires and then there's, like, working class people, whatever, but it's based on talent, which is almost worse. It puts a lot of pressure on people and kind of diminishes them if they don't have, like, a great, like, talent. It's not, like, good enough, you know what I mean? And they just, like, they take intelligence very seriously. They take school very seriously. Like, if you fail, then, like, you're, like, thrown out to this, like, terrible place. Is it Exilum or something? Some terrible school that you don't want to go to. Or if you break a law, you're exiled. No, like, prison system or judicial really system or any, like, no voting. No one really questions the leadership. They just go along with whatever the council does. Also, that story of, you know, the humans betraying the elves and That's why the humans are cut off from, and they're the forbidden cities or whatever. I feel like that's not true, or at least not entirely true. You gotta look at who's telling the story. Who's telling the story? The council, the history books written by elves. We already know how this society like views humans. They think that they're inferior. They literally like, they use that word, that they're dumb, that their minds are weak, that they're just not as good as elves. I feel like that's what happened. I feel like they just felt superior to humans and they just didn't want anything to do with them, or like something. I feel like there's more to the story that we're not hearing. Also, how they deal with grief, because so their thing is an elf has never died of old age yet. They've just kept on living for millions of years and have not died. Whenever they do die, it's some accident, some sickness or whatever. Just no one has ever died of old age yet. So because of that, because death is so uncommon, when a tragic death like that does happen, people don't really know how to empathize. They don't know what that experience is like. And when they see people grieving, they don't really understand it. Grady and Adeline, they lost their daughter Josie in a tragic fire. They used to be really popular, part of the nobility, used to throw like elaborate parties. Everybody knows who they are. But then when their daughter died, they just stopped that. They just stay inside. They don't go out anymore. And you hear people talking like, oh, they're like weird. Like they just so weird. And Sophie's like, yeah, well, people are never really the same after someone they love dies. And they're like, really? Like, you know, they're just like, so they really don't understand grief. And even if you don't understand it, like, or have not experienced it, I feel like you can at least like sympathize, like, you know what I mean? And that part of the world building, it made me feel grateful, even though it's horrible. The fact that humans die a lot, and it's a general like thing that people can understand, like, oh, my sister died, like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, what can I do to help? Like, bring you food, bring you flowers, you know, all that stuff. But then imagine how lonely it would be to live in a world like the elves do, where death is not common and they don't really know how death affects people and like what to do in that situation, and like how lonely that would be. And like, we know as humans that losing a child, like as parents, is like one of the worst things ever, like that you can ever experience. So about the characters, so I generally liked all of the characters. I think at first my favorite character was Keith, but I think now it's Dex. I really like Dex. And I also didn't like Fitz at first, but at the end of the book, I don't know what happened, but I've grown to like him a little bit more. I think everyone thinking that Sophie and Dex are dead and having a funeral for them and all that, it's really sad and horrible, but I think it was good for a lot of character growth for a lot of the characters, for them to understand grief and maybe experience a little bit of guilt and like just like have some empathy, you know what I mean? I feel like that's really going to change Fitz's character and just a lot of the characters. But I do feel really bad for Grady and Adeline to think yet again that they lost another daughter. That's just horrible. For the ships in this series, there's a lot of ways that this can possibly go. It seems like it's either going to be Fitz or Dex. And like I said before, I wasn't really too fond of Dex in the beginning, but I kind of grew to like him, and like maybe he'll like change in the second book or whatever. But and I think I would be fine if they were together, but I think I want her to be with Dex, who is like her best friend, and they've had this collective trauma experience together that no one will ever understand. And I think that will bring them closer. And I just like their relationship a lot. Dex is my favorite character. I'm gonna just look at my notes really quick to make sure I didn't forget anything. Okay, so for the rest of my thoughts and theories, so Kef's dad and Alvar, Fitz's older brother, they're a little sus. I feel like I got the feeling that they were like possibly a part of like the Black Swan, or like maybe even some other group or something, or they're just like up to something. Bad vibes. Also, Kef's dad seems kind of abusive, just based off of like his body language when he's in the presence of his dad. If not physically, he's obviously very emotionally abusive, just by that one interaction that we had with him. And the way that Kef's dad treats him, it makes a lot of sense of why he acts the way he does. Okay, that sequence of chapters where Sophie and Dex get kidnapped, and she's like coming in and out of consciousness, getting drugged, experiencing all of these horrible things, that was done very well, and actually too well, because I don't think I mentioned this in the beginning of this video, but this is actually a reread. I read this a long time ago when I was a kid, I think probably when it first came out, and that part traumatized me. It's done really well, but that was a little bit too much for my childhood self. And even though I really enjoyed this series, the book, and wanted to continue with it, I didn't want to experience any more of that, so I stopped reading. And now I'm so excited to get back into it now that I'm older and definitely more able to handle it. Oh, Prentice's son. I swear I remembered meeting him in this book, but I guess we didn't. But I want Sophie to talk with him, because I feel like we'll find out some stuff, you know? Also, his mother just mysteriously dying in a freak accident. No, thank you. Just mysteriously fading away by light leaping. I feel like the council did that on purpose for some reason. I don't know why, but I feel like they offed her. I'm not gonna lie. There's something fishy going on. My pen. There is something fishy going on with that whole situation, okay? So yeah, I hope she has a conversation with his son. Also, so now that idiot guy on the council is going to be her mentor, because now we find out that she has more powers. Oh, I think that she is going to end up having every power. I think that's it. She's going to be like all powerful or something. She's going to have like every ability in the book. But, or maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, that idiot guy who's going to be her mentor that hates her and is going to try to fail her. This can either go two ways. Or maybe a third way. I don't know. I think maybe being her mentor, he might soften to her a bit. We might learn more about him. Or he could do what he says and try to fail her and exile her. Which, I don't want to spoil myself, but the next book is called Exile. So that's concerning. It's kind of a hard thing to ignore when it's the name of the book. But yeah, I do hope that we learn more about exile, because I just like wonder, like, okay, like, where is exile? What exactly does that mean? Like, is it just like a woods? What? How many people are there? Is it like there's like a whole society there? Like, also, like, what happened to Prentice? Like, I'm concerned for him because the way that they say, like, his mind broke. They broke his mind to get information because he was a keeper protecting where Sophie was, that he was keeping that information. And so they did a mind break, which basically messes up your mind permanently. So I'm just like thinking, like, did they literally like break this man's mind and then send him off? They exiled him, so they just like sent this man off with a messed up mind. Like, is he able to like care for himself? Like, you know what I mean? I'm just concerned about that. And I wonder if Sophie does get exiled and we see that place, if we'll probably meet Prentice and see what a mind break really looks like, which I am concerned about because I do not want to know how that is done. I don't want to see that, but just knowing like the stuff that this author did in this book, where the main character and her friend get kidnapped and like tortured, and it's very traumatizing and all that, I don't know anymore. So I think that's all my thoughts and theories on this book. If you've read this book, if you have any thoughts or opinions, please leave them down below. No spoilers for the rest of the series, please. I guess that's it. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe. I do a bunch of book reviews and stuff. And I guess that's it. Bye, guys.